Chapter 14, A Neighborhood Meeting. The dolls and the fun crafts had held 2 previous neighborhood meetings. The first had taken place several months earlier, after Tiffany had overheard a discussion in which the Palmers had decided to get a dog. The second one had taken place the previous day, and Annabelle and Tiffany had known nothing about it. Their families had met to discuss what they should do if the girls didn't return. Now the girls were back, and the families needed to meet again. To get rid of the menace we brought with us, said Annabelle, feeling guilty. The meeting was held in the dolls' parlor. The 7 grown-ups crowded into chairs and the sofa. Annabelle, Tiffany, Bobby, and Bailey sat on the floor. Baby Betsy and baby Brittany had been settled with quiet toys in the dining room where Nanny could keep an eye on them. And here's a picture of everybody in the 2 families sitting around having their meeting. Does your family have meetings like that and sit around and talk about things? My family does it, but we sort of do it mostly at dinner time. We talk a lot about different things when we're eating dinner. At first, everyone tried to face into Kate's room so they could watch for Mean Mimi, but it was very different to carry on a conversation when everyone was looking in the same direction. Eventually, Annabelle, Tiffany, Bailey, and Bobby turned around and faced the grown-ups, but Annabelle found herself constantly glancing over her shoulder. Auntie Sarah led the meeting. I hereby call to order this in the 3rd meeting of the Neighborhood Doll Association, she said. Tonight we have gathered to discuss the problem of Mimi. Is it agreed that our first order of business is to figure out a way in which to capture Mimi? If so, say aye. Aye, the dolls called softly. Very good, said Auntie Sarah. Okay, any ideas? Tiffany shot her hand in the air. Oh, I have an idea. Tiffany, Auntie Sarah pointed to her. I think, said Tiffany, that we should trick Mean Mimi into meeting up with the captain. The dolls glanced at one another. Okay, said Auntie Sarah. I don't get it, said Bailey. Well, we'll see. We'll use reverse psychology, Tiffany explained. We'll wait until we see Mimi again. Then we'll tell her that we don't care what she does in this house as long as she doesn't hurt the poor kitty downstairs. Like in the story Briar Rabbit and the Briar Patch. Then Mimi will go downstairs just to do what we told her not to do. The captain will get her. Tiffany sat back, looking pleased. What do you mean he'll get her? Asked Annabelle. He'll run off with her, like he did with you and Papa and Mr. Doll. But I thought we were supposed to capture Mimi, said Bobby. Everyone looked at Auntie Sarah. Well, she said, I guess that's what I meant. Although I'm not sure what we'll do with Mimi once we catch her. Still, we don't want the captain to catch her, do we? Asked Annabelle. For one thing, Mimi might hurt him. And I don't like the captain, but we don't want him to get hurt. And what would the humans think? What had happened to him? Plus, Mimi would probably just escape from him, and then we'd be right back where we started. Annabelle paused. I'm sorry, Tiffany, I think that's a clever idea. I really do. But I'm not sure if it would work in the end. And after a moment, Papa Doll said, I think it's very clear that we're going to have to set up traps ourselves. I'm just not sure what kind of trap it should be. Maybe something involving spider webs, said Auntie Sarah thoughtfully. Spider webs are very strong, strong enough and large enough to wrangle insects. But strong enough to ensnare a large wriggling doll, asked Annabelle. Well, maybe strong enough to ensure that we tie her up with a rope. We could do that in the attic where no one would come upon her. And then we could bring her downstairs all tied up, asked Nanny. Well, I don't know. The members of the NDA sat thoughtfully, the grown-ups staring out into Kate's room, and finally, Auntie Sarah said, perhaps we should move on to the 2nd floor of business. What should we do with Mimi if we catch her? The grown-ups twisted their hands. Tiffany played with the bow in her hair. Bailey and Bobby tapped their feet, and Annabelle looked thoughtfully. Well, we could turn the Barbie camper into a jail, said Papa Doll. After a few moments, we could leave her tied up in there until we think she's learned her lesson. Well, I suppose that could work, said Uncle Doll, as long as Kate doesn't happen to look in the Barbie camper. I'm not sure we can count on Mimi to keep quiet, though. What if, said Mama, we treated Mimi with kindness while she was here, while she was in the camper? Perhaps people hadn't been very kind to her. Can you blame them? Whispered Aunt Tiffany to Annabelle. That's an interesting idea, said Mom Funcraft. Maybe she could learn how to change her ways. I like the idea of trapping her in the camper, said Nanny, but I don't think she needs kindness. I think she needs discipline. Discipline can be administered with kindness, said Auntie Sarah. Said Nanny. Bailey raised his hand. Bailey, said Auntie Sarah. I bet Mimi doesn't know how to have fun, he said. Maybe she needs fun, like that song. Girls just don't want to have fun. Yes, more quality fun, said Dad Funcraft. Plus trapping her would be fun for us, added Bobby. That doll doesn't need fun. She needs reform, thundered Uncle Doll. And everyone quickly turned their attention to Kate, but she slept on. Uncle Doll composed himself. Pardon me, he said. So what exactly are we going to do? Let's take turns voicing our opinions individually, replied Auntie Sarah. I'd like to hear from each one of you. Quietly, she added, looking at Uncle Doll. Okay, I'll start, said Dad Funcraft. I think we should trap Mimi. I'm not sure how. I don't know if the spiderweb idea is going to work. Then after we trap her, we bring her to the camper and teach her to have fun. She needs to let her hair down a little bit. I agree with Dad, said Mom Funcraft. I think, said Mama Doll, that we should trap her somehow. I'm not sure about the spiderweb either, and take her to the camper, and we'll show her kindness. I agree with Mama, said Papa Doll. I think we should take her to the camper for discipline, said Nanny. I agree with Nanny, said Uncle Doll. I don't really care what we do with her, said Bobby, as long as we trap her. Yeah, agreed Bailey and Tiffany. Clearly, we're going to have to give more thought to setting up a trap, said Auntie Sarah. Annabelle, what do you think we should do? Everyone turned to Annabelle. I think, said Annabelle. She hesitated. I think before we do anything, we should take a deep breath. What? Said several of the dolls after a moment of uncomfortable silence. I love it. She's doing mindful breathing. She's thinking about it, taking time before you react. I love that. We need to take deep breaths, Annabelle repeated patiently. What Mimi's doing is terrible. She's trying to make us afraid. Afraid to move about. Afraid to live our lives. Afraid to be free. But we don't have to let her. No. No one can make us feel anything. We are the only ones to control what we feel. So we can choose not to feel afraid, and it helps to stay calm and breathe deeply. Annabelle noticed several of the dolls glancing at one another. Tiffany looked down at her shoes. All right, said Auntie Sarah. That's fine. But is there anything you think we should do about Mimi? Well, the dolls waited. I think we should do nothing, Annabelle finally said. Nothing? Said Uncle Doll. Not exactly nothing, replied Annabelle. What I mean is that I think if we leave Mimi alone, eventually she'll get herself in big trouble. She'll do herself in. Let's go back to living our regular lives, Annabelle, continuing, remembered her nerve walking through the hallway to Nora's room. She did not want to feel that way anymore. We can choose not to be afraid, she said, and that's what we have to do. We have to be on alert, of course. We have to keep our eyes open for whatever trouble Mimi might cause. But I think that what really matters is that we are positive and Mimi is negative. And in the end of our positive actions, we will win out over Mimi's negative ones. Why poke a stick in a hornet's nest? So that's an analogy. Why poke a stick in a hornet's nest? Because think about it, if there's a hornet's nest, what's inside it? Hornets. And if you poke a stick in it, all the hornets are going to come out, right? Big problem. Buzz around, sting you, all sorts of stuff. But if you leave that hornet's nest alone, just let it be. Yeah, hornets are going to come out, but if they're not provoked, they probably won't sting you. That's what she's saying. Just let Mimi be. So there was another moment of silence, then followed by shuffling of feet and more glances and plenty of raised eyebrows. And at last Uncle Doll said, That's all and well, good, Annabelle, but meanwhile, there's a monster in our midst. Do you really think all we need to do is take deep breaths? Yeah, the monster's trying to bowl us over with cat toys, and we're supposed to breathe and think nice thoughts, said Bailey. Well, said Annabelle, remembered the chaos at BJ's house. She remembered the barricades, the traps, and spying and the plans. What did it lead to? Torn posters and nicks in the bed and missing dolls. Still, when Annabelle looked around at their faces of her family and friends, she felt like a balloon with the air seeping out of it. So Annabelle's idea is just do nothing. What would you do? What would your plan be? Think Annabelle's a good one. Think about it. Do you think Annabelle's a good plan? Ignore her. We shall see.